It's Friday, December 27th. Yes, Christmas is over, but I'm still keeping the background. It's fall season. Every time when it's Christmas week or after Christmas, bowl season, college football time with Avery. I know this was last minute, but there was just something about that Pittsburgh Toledo game that I said I can't wait till Monday because we're already going to talk about today and tomorrow's games for Monday. So I was like, you know what? Just for one game, let's go with Pittsburgh and Toledo. Six overtimes, two premature celebrations, but Toledo came out victorious, 48 to 46. Just the other day we had San Jose State. That game that went, I believe, was like five
Five
overtimes.
overtimes
And
in Hawaii. Yeah, and then in the Hawaii Bowl, believe it or not, the day before that five overtime game, we had our first overtime game between, kind of our favorite college team this season, Northern Illinois versus Fresno State on Monday. They had a
Mhm.
double overtime game, which Northern Illinois won in the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. So
What a
literally in the
season.
span
What
of
a season.
Exactly. In the span of 4 days, we've had multiple overtime games, but the game last night between Pittsburgh and Toledo, I think, is already at the top of the best bowl game this season. Yes, we had, a couple of premature celebrations, but at the same time, you had two teams that were giving their all. Each team had, over 400 yards of total yards. Pittsburgh had more possession time with 36 minutes versus Toledo's 23. But I think the three turnovers by Pitt versus the two turnovers was probably it. And until the late second quarter, this was turning out to be like a field goal game. But then all of a sudden, after halftime, both teams kicked it into gear. And if you were watching this game like I was at work, but I had the game on in the break room. You were watching this game, you were seeing something special from both teams. And even though Pittsburgh lost, I think you got to give a round of applause to Pitt. They started off their season very well, making it to a bowl game. They still did finish with a winning season of 7-6. I know they probably wanted more, but this is a really great effort by Pittsburgh. And I think this is just the beginning for this school and the next couple of years, knowing what their opportunities are, what they want from their program, and the players want from that program, as well as the coaches. On the other side, Toledo, you can't say enough about a team that just hustled, and that's what I saw from that team. I just saw that team hustle, 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 and it worked out. And like we said, it took six overtimes in order to get that 48 to 46 win. But, bowl season is where it's at. You see, teams make a name for themselves. You see players make names for themselves. And, even though a lot of these bowls are kind of like, what kind of bowl is this? But it's just an exciting time for football. And we've said it all season. This season has been an exciting time for college football. And the bowl games are no exception. The bowl games are no exception, just as today, as we're talking, there's 5 games today. There's going to be, I think, 4 more tomorrow. And we still have the quarterfinal games, which are going to be played next week as well. So, there's still a lot of football, and it's just great to see. Great to see.
Yes, I mean, that third quarter helped Pittsburgh a lot. I mean, it looked like Toledo had all the momentum, especially going into that halftime, but in the third quarter, that's when things got interesting. In the fourth quarter, forget about it, it got even more interesting. Pittsburgh, they could have been up in the banners, they could have been celebrating. They made a few decision making that cost them the game, but hey, this was a shootout between both teams. Both teams left it all on the field. And that's something we even saw in the previous two games that went to overtime. I mean, Northern Illinois, man, they really made me proud this year. I'm definitely going to be paying attention to them next season, where they're going to be doing. I love their celebration. I love what Coach Hammock had to say after the game with the celebration. I mean, that's a guy he's an example of a player that you definitely want to play of a coach that you want to play for. But Pittsburgh, they did start off the season good, and then it got rocky from there. So hopefully they bounce back next season. And Toledo, yeah, like you said, they hustled. I mean, that's the thing. This is what I love about bowl season is that while the normal or the regular people will focus on the Sugar Bowl, the Fiesta Bowl, the Rose Bowl, rightfully so, but also we got to pay attention to these other games as well. And so far, the bowl season has been better than the college football playoffs. And I mean, and I just hope that it continues today, tomorrow with these impressive games giving us a show. I mean, hey, it's Friday and Saturday after Christmas, so you know,
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to that. Oakland,
everybody's winding down from Christmas, people who've had family over, maybe people still have family, at home, watch college football. You never know. Because even though we had that great game versus Pittsburgh and Toledo, Kansas State and Rutgers had a great game too.
and
Kansas
I wrote
State
and I
came
and I wrote a piece about it on my
Kansas
blog.
State came back and won their game against uh, um, Rutgers, and believe it or not, after that game, you had Arkansas State and Bowling Green playing, a close game as well. So don't be fooled, just like you say, Sugar Bowl, Cotton Bowl, Rose Bowl. These are the iconic bowl games that, a lot of people, want to watch all the time. But you also have to take a look at these kind of like small bowls or what I like to call, your pop culture bowls like your Cheez-It bowl or your Dirk Mayo bowl. You might see some really good teams who maybe have played, together years ago, played against each other years ago, and then all of a sudden they come where they've been invited to a bowl game. They're going to play a bowl game, and then they're going to play their best football. And so far, we've seen that. And also, I believe we've seen a lot of players play in these bowl games. I think we do have players that are, of course, eligible for draft. I haven't heard of kind of a mass exodus by some teams yet of players that are opting out of a bowl game. And I know in the past couple of years that has been an issue. I haven't heard anything. The biggest story was earlier this week. Coach Deion Sanders did say he was going to have insurance for Travis Hunter and Shador Sanders because they're playing in a bowl game, even though they are going to the draft. And I think that is a wise decision by the head coach as well as the school. And maybe other coaches may take that lead, and other schools may want to take that lead for their players to have the possibility to still play a bowl game, still get the recognition, and maybe, not kind of have that stigma of, okay, you opted to not play a bowl game to be healthy for the draft, but, it's detrimental. And of course, we saw it last year with Florida State making it to the Orange Bowl to play Georgia, and that was just a god-awful game. That was just a god-awful game, and we knew when we saw it, it was just god-awful. But we said it before, bowl season is this time where schools can showcase themselves even if we haven't seen them. Like we knew about Northern Illinois because of their win in Notre Dame, and then we kept watching them. We wanted to see what they were going to do. And bowl season kind of does the same thing. When you have a team that kind of showcase themselves, or they have a great win, or they have an upset win, it's amazing. Like we said, right now, Oklahoma and Navy are playing right now. This is Navy's first bowl game in 5 years. And they've won, bowl games up until 2013. So And they're also favored by like 1 point. So, I mean, why not? Why not? And you also have these great um matchups too. You know, when you look at bowl season, you kind of look at all these matchups and like, hey, that's a weird matchup and that's a weird matchup. And then you get real interesting, as far as other bowl games to watch. But this bowl season is a really interesting time for any college football fan or any football fan in general. And when you have the opportunity to watch those games or even possibility to go to a game, you need to do it. You need to do it because these young men are giving their all. These coaches, are letting these young men know what they're capable of, and what better way to do it than at a bowl game.